Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another of the Drug and Alcohol Attorneys newsletter. Let me start off by saying thank you to everyone who has been emailing me and sending me messages through social media. I really appreciate it. I had a great question that was asked to me just recently, which is, what's the difference between the Baker Act and the Marchman Act? So I thought I'd take a couple of minutes just to chat with you and explain the difference. So some of you know I do a lot of Baker Act work in the office, and the Baker Act is basically a 72-hour mental health stabilization statute, and it can be initiated by the law, by the police. It can be initiated by a doctor in the emergency room, and it can even be initiated by going and filing a petition with the circuit court. Typically, it's not done that way. It's normally law enforcement or somebody in an emergency room, or it could even be a clinician of some sort. So that's typically how the Baker Act is initiated, and it's good for up to 72 hours. So if the person continues to meet criteria, in other words, they're a potential threat to themselves or somebody else due to a mental health crisis, for instance, if they have threatened suicide, things of that nature, they can be held for up to 72 hours. And as I've talked about in some of the other videos that I've sent you guys, if they continue to meet criteria past 72 hours, then the facility can go and file a petition for involuntary placement, and there's going to be a hearing, and then a judge gets to decide if they should be held longer than the 72 hours. So that is the Baker Act. It is it's a temporary stabilization period which can be extended. It is not a statute that is for treatment. Okay, it's not a treatment statute. The Marchman Act, on the other hand, is a treatment statute, and it is a statute for people who have primary substance use disorders and who also may have a co-occurring mental health issue. And the Marchman Act, and while the Marchman Act can be initiated by law enforcement, it can be initiated by a doctor at an emergency room. Similar to the Baker Act, it is typically not initiated that way. And I'm not going to get into why and all that other fun stuff as to why it's not initiated that way. But most of the time, unlike the Baker Act, it's going to be initiated by somebody going to the circuit court and filing a petition. So families come to us because they want us to sort of help them to negotiate this the complicated process of the Marchman Act. And I will tell you, as many times as I've read Chapter 397, which is the Marchman Act, I learn something every time I do. So it is complicated. It can be done, by a family on their own. But look, I think that's a tough road for any family to do. But the Marchman Act is a two-step process. The first step is a period of assessment, which is required under the statute. Typically, it's 5 days, although it can be extended past the 5-day window. So, in the cases that we handle, typically it's 5 to 7 days. And then there's the treatment portion. So the treatment portion is for a period of up to, not 4, but up to 90 days. And so, typically, what happens is we go to court, we get a 90-day court order, and any time but before the 80th day, so 10 days before the court order expires, we can ask for more time. And again, that extension is based on the premise that the person continues to meet criteria for a Marchman Act, i.e. they have a substance use disorder and they continue to need services so that they don't continue to present as a danger to themselves and or others. So that's the difference. Baker Act is 72 hours. Marchman Act is for up to 90 days. So I hope that answers that question. I appreciate, again, all the comments and questions. And thanks once again for tuning in to another one of our newsletters. Take care and stay safe.